welcome to another episode of Hardpoint here on a beautiful Sunday night. We just had a great 4-game set of the CDL matches, and I'm going to go through them really quick with my instant reactions. So, first off, we got Minnesota Rokkr, Vegas Legion. Looking at the stats, you can tell which side was winning this match just within the KDs alone. Clayster 1.2, Temp 1.22, TJ Halley at 1.07. I feel like through the match, I kept seeing TJ Halley be able to make some great influential plays. It was nice to see Clayster contribute again, as I feel like he's had a rough first 3 matches of the season, and Rokkr were just off their game. After the match, Cammy was saying we just played awful. It seemed like he was taking the side of Legion didn't necessarily play well, we were the ones playing bad, which I can see from the gameplay. Going back to it, this hardpoint was very close, very well done on both teams actually, and from then on, it was really just the Legion really controlled the S&D, they controlled the hardpoint at the end, and the Minnesota Rokkr were able to pull out that control. But on that hardpoint, it was a really contested match, and Legion were able to just clutch up. I think that's been one of the big narratives of the season so far, has just been which team can clutch, which team cannot, and it usually comes down to the superstars being able to bring up those clutch plays. We saw Ali make a tweet during the match, saying this game is just really pulling at the players in terms of who can be the most patient, who is struggling to be patient. And I think we can look at across a lot of teams and see who was patient, who wasn't patient, and that's kind of being who won the match. I think we can kind of see the surge throughout some of their S&Ds, maybe them not being as patient, which has been a detriment, which is what the second match was, Toronto Ultra, Seattle Surge. Really a lackluster performance all around from Seattle. Wasn't terrible, just wasn't up to par. And then on the Toronto side, Standy and who's this fourth one? The fourth one, oh my gosh. Scrappy. Yeah, Standy and Scrappy have been playing unbelievably. They're 2 pickups this year. If we look at the games, this hardpoint was extremely impressive. I thought this was going to bring the surge through the rest of the match, as they were down probably 50 points or so. They were able to get 2 points back to back, get both time, and they were able to pull it out on that last P3 up on the top. From then on, S&D, even though it's 6-3, Seattle Surge have got to be the worst S&D team in the game, not even a question, and Toronto's one of the best. This could have been a 6-0, realistically. On that control, I've really felt like controls have been really 50-50. It's who's able to get these breaks, who's able to make these right calls, but then also have just a little bit of luck, and the luck just went to the Ultra here. This easily could have been a Surge win. And on this last hardpoint, it was hotly contested again. I thought Surge were going to pull it out just because they've been one of the most impressive hardpoint teams throughout this whole major qualifiers. But the Toronto Ultra were just a little bit better, a little bit more concise. And I thought Pred and Sib were going to pop off and make the right plays. Mac, if I recall, was just a .69. I feel like if Mac was able to perform where he's usually able to, more a .8 to a 1, this could have been a different story. And again, we always say Mac is kind of the issue at times. But really, again, let's give the flowers to Toronto. They have really, look at that, a 0.3 KD for Insight. I have no idea why the Seattle Surge continue to play S&D on Al Bagra. It makes no sense to me. But yeah, give the flowers to Toronto. They are a top 3 team. They're a Titan this year. I think they're going to continue to play that way. And next up, we got the Los Angeles Thieves against the Optic Texas. Man, again, the last match with the Surge and this match, and then even the last match of the night, we saw all 3 start off with the one team winning, and then the next 3 going to the winning team, and we saw that again here with Optic. Optic pulled off the first match. During this map, I've been saying this a lot. During that first map, I'll always make these narratives in my head, like, okay, Optic is better than Thieves right now, which isn't a statement that surprised me at all. I think they both have great talent that either way wouldn't surprise. But from then on, S&D extremely close. Optic was able to get to like a 5-2, 5-3, something along those lines, and Thieves were able to pull it back and pull off the victory. Optic actually got a plant on A, which the Thieves defused. So we'll see if they ever go back to that again, but extremely close. Control close. Hard. The last hard point was what killed them, 250 to 116. No stats on it, but during this map, you could just tell Thieves reached their potential during that point, while the Optic Texas boys were probably a little defeated after these two games. We can see that momentum truly is a huge factor in Call of Duty, probably more so than a lot of sports in the world. It just feels like through these matches, teams can either reach their potential or not reach their potential throughout any game, any mode at all, throughout any game or mode throughout the freaking season. And this is the point where Thieves reached their potential. They looked really unstoppable. They were getting time, they were holding time, they were getting spawns, they were breaking points. They were doing everything right, and they just got outclassed here. Post this, I think if this search went the right way for Optic, it could have been a different story, but just not the story here, not the case. And even Optic had some great stats to go with it throughout the match. Looking at the stats, you'd think they won. They did get a little outslayed by Envoy. Envoy seems to always pull up on his former team, as Envoy was an Optic Texas boy 2 years ago. He was the prince to the king of Scump, but they moved off him, and we'll see how he does again. But it seems like he had a couple matches last year where he kind of did really bad against Optic, but he's really turned it around, and he likes to get his revenge on them. Last up is Boston Breach LAG, and again, Boston Breach pulled off the first win in unadulterated butt-kicking game, 250 to 69, got 100-point clubbed. From this point on, again, narrative in my head, I thought this was going to be done for. I thought LAG was done for. However, the only slim of hope I thought LAG had was in the S&D, as they have a decent S&D squad. They pull off a 6-1 victory on El Asilo. El Asilo is always fun to watch for me. And from then on, let's look at those stats real quick. Again, Hook 450, Neptune 3, amazing stuff. Boston just got outplayed. And then on the control, I thought it would be a 3-1, honestly, but Boston was able to, LAG were able to pull it out. Spart and RCD's pulling through for them. And then lastly, on the Zarqua, Boston was up like 180 to below 100. And then LAG was able to pull it back. I looked away for just a little bit, and I looked back, and LAG was back in it, and they won it. Very impressive. That shows some heart that this team has. RCD was just probably pulling them through. You can really tell in the last tweets that RCD was not very happy with the way LAG is performing, coming off a superstar squad in Atlanta, coming to LAG. But if you look at these stats, pretty even across the board. And Neptune with a 1.12. Spart, again, is being that... he's not performing as well as the rest of the team. So I'm excited to kind of do my hot seats for this coming week and see what is what. Now that the whole entire qualifiers are done, we have the entire Major 1 qualifier standings here. We got Minnesota Rokkr at number 1, Toronto 2, Boston 3, Atlanta FaZe 4, LA Thieves 5, 6 Optic, 7 London, 8 New York Subliners, 9 LAG, 10 Florida, 11 Surge, and 12 Legion. So only 2 teams were able to win 3 maps. That's the Rokkr and the Ultra. They both had 10 wins and 6 to 7 losses. Every single person, other than those 2, had 2 wins, other than the Seattle Surge and the Vegas Legion. Really, the teams that stick out here are Seattle Surge with a 1-3, down there with with Vegas Legion. The other team that stands out is, probably Boston. They didn't do very well in this last week, but the first week they did good enough that pulled them through. Really for me, it's only the Seattle Surge that are actually a surprise here, based off what we were expecting coming in. Rokkr always seem to have a major or 2 that they're good with that talent. Not very surprising. And then the FaZe probably losing 2 is surprising. especially since they lost. They were able to win to the Thieves, which was one of the games that I was like, okay, this might be a game they lose, but they actually won it. So yeah, I'd say FaZe and Seattle are the two teams kind of here that are a little surprising. Optic with that forfeit, you just kind of throw your hands in the air and say, okay, whatever happens, happens. But going to the bracket, the way it's going to work is we got the top 4 teams will be the top bracket. There's 4 groups going in, groups A through D. They'll play a challenger team while the two bottom teams, like the bottom, like Paris will be here, for example, and then a middle team will be here. They'll play. Whoever wins goes ahead. Whoever loses comes down here. You have to win 2 to qualify, and then the top 2 qualify for the actual event. So if you are a team for a team who's not doing so hot, go back to the standings. If you're a fan of Vegas, Seattle, Florida, LAG, Subliners, and you got kind of a worse standing in the bracket, this is the perfect time to have a bad qualifier, because really, you never know who you're going to play, and it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to play someone good, because we get a bracket before the actual bracket. Usually we just go straight into a bracket and there's no groups. So this is the best time to have a worse qualifier, and the groups are already out. They're just not here on the league website yet. So we'll talk about that next week. But that's about it for this week. Thanks for watching, and please feel free to like and subscribe and watch some other videos from MWII Release.